leading our panel. I won't use my normal name for him because he blushes, but he's my good friend. Come on up, my friend. Yeah, exactly. Good to see you. And you'll be introducing your fellow panelists. Microphones. Wait, one more big round.
I guess good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to have you all here for the blockchain game segment. I think there's, out of the people, there's some that have been able to make it, others were in another panel, but I guess Mario Nawfal, which is a good colleague for many years, not here. Anna was in an earlier panel. So that leaves us with Amit. Mehra. Where's Amit? Amit. Met him yesterday. It was a pleasure. Please join us. Nicola. What is Nicola? Stojanov. Where is Nicola? There he is. I recognize. And Sudipto. Where is Sudipto? Oh, but there's one more. It's coming. Great. No problem. We'll take all the volunteers. And since you guys are all here, I might as well let you know, normally we have EcoX on Tuesday nights, but because Agora is a very also partner respectful event, we decided to move the Tuesday EcoX blockchain event to Thursday night at Conrad VI. So you're all welcome. And please do join us whenever. Please, you still have to be mic'd. I think there is like portable mics. Yeah, no problem. So, okay, it's a pleasure to have everyone here. Actually, IT, and myself, I've been in IT, I think, for 35 years, which is kind of a bit scary sometimes. One of the elements that has driven the advances in IT has always been gaming. Gaming is pushing the envelope of what IT can do, both in terms of performance, in terms of capacity, in terms of resolution and all that. There's always challenges and people find a way to solve them. Even things like, for example, cybersecurity challenges. Maybe many of you have heard about Mt. Gox, which is one of the earliest Bitcoin exchanges that got hacked. What was the primary thing that was being traded on Mt. Gox? It was actually gaming tokens. So people that earn items in gaming were trading in that platform that actually ran out of Japan. As you know, in Asia, Japan, Korea, Singapore, Malaysia, gaming is a very important element. But as we move more and more towards blockchain, many elements are coming in. So one is blockchain, which is itself a technology of trust. So that means it adding a trust element. The second one is a sub-element of blockchain known as NFT, non-fungible tokens. The typical things that you can earn in a game, some games like, for example, a sword, a weapon, or some superpowers, can easily be converted into an NFT, and they can easily be traded in a secondary market or exchange. So it allows you to not only have trust, but then now exchange value and trust between the players. The previous panel mentioned a topic that has started to become more and more important in certain parts of the world, which is a term known as play to earn. Now, play to earn has taken ground in places like, for example, Philippines, where salaries are very low and people are sometimes able to make more money in gaming than actually in their normal day-to-day job. There was previous panels also on metaverse, which is these new virtual worlds or digital twin worlds. But many people say, oh, metaverse is new. Metaverse and virtual worlds have been with us for more than 10 years. Many of you may have heard about something called VRML, which is allows you to actually have 3D worlds and 3D objects on a traditional browser. So that was part of the original Web 2.0 standard. Web 3.0 which allow you to decentralize some of these elements. Obviously, with all these technologies comes risks. One of them, for example, is privacy. So I invite you to go look at something called xrsi.org, for standing for extended reality, which deals a lot with the privacy elements associated with gaming as well. So other new terms that are important, many of you probably heard or not, one is known as gamify, which is a combination of all these four elements together. On one side, we have gaming, another side is NFTs, another element is DeFi, and the third element is metaverse. So what does really blockchain mean for gaming and vice versa? And I think is a lot. Now, I will go through my panel of esteemed guests here. We'll start with Nicola, I guess he's on the far end. And given that he has been in this industry also for some time, I don't think he needs any very big introduction, but he can mention the kind of things that he's doing in this area. And also what is his views on these challenges as we are trying to reinvent what we can do in the gaming industry.
Thank you very much, Jorge. Very briefly put, I've been in the space for quite a while, but I co-founded Eternity Blockchain, which was an infrastructure project in 2016. And since 2019, I've been mostly involved in ecosystem building and venture capital investments. I have very direct hands-on approach, which I believe always has a little bit of a distinct tune to it, because before anything else, I still consider myself an entrepreneur and a builder, and I would like this to maintain as long as possible, because I believe that there's nothing better than to build, especially when people tell you it cannot be done, which I think is also a very good introduction to our topic today, because like how, for example, how I got into Bitcoin or in general into cryptocurrencies back in the days was through games. I realized very early that when you look at things like Diablo 3, they had one of the first auction houses where you would be able to use in-game currency and trade this in-game currency first for real money. You could sell a sword or something and you would get paid on a bank account, or apologies, on your PayPal account back then. You would receive funds and you would be able to spend that money. Amazing gateway, and I believe that we have come through a very long way from this right now. But play to earn is a very complex topic. It brings a lot of challenges with it. On one side, you have to incentivize people to play a game. On the other side, they have to play it long enough so that it makes sense. Enough people have to play it. But the token economics in itself have to continuously work that on one side, people do actually earn something whilst playing, but on the other side, what they're earning is worth something and that they can interact with it in the real world. Because if you earn something on Candy Crush and you can't do anything with it, what's the reason for it? And I believe that we have recently seen Axiom was a beautiful example of this, but it was only a very basic form of what play to earn or do to earn in general can build. You will, I believe that right now the next step is that you will see this in games that are established. There was a DAO that was supposed to be formed to buy Hearthstone, which is not a game that I've played, but it has millions and millions of players that wanted to NFT Hearthstone and that they wanted to monetize it out of this DAO. You'll see Fortnite, Twitch, etc. people all jump on this board, and I'm genuinely excited about this. But I want to move on to my next co-panelist.
Thanks.
We have Amit with us. Amit is also from a capital perspective and investment into the gaming industry. So he has divisions around the world. So please tell us your perspective on the gaming industry. I guess probably from a capital investment perspective, but also from blockchain as well.
Sure. So very quick, background about us. So we are blockchain investors with over $1 billion in AUM. We focus on, we have three kind of focuses. One is in the Agora space, deep in that ecosystem. The second is in the Helium space. And the third is from where we hedge those investments, doing more cross-chain in others, BSC, Polygon, Ethereum, Cardano, and so on. So I think, as the panel before and what my co-panelists have said, I think as we transition, like it's a very logical choice. So earlier there was a pay to play. So you have to pay and then you play. As we transition from that to play to earn, it becomes a very natural choice. Like, why would someone pay to play a game for an hour if they can actually, go and buy NFTs in the game, play it for an hour, and then actually sell those at a higher value? So that definitely makes a lot of sense. In fact, I think just like I think less than 24 hours ago, FTX announced that they are having an entire unit focused on gaming. So, and in fact, today's panel, if you see, the entire second half is kind of focused on gaming. So that just shows that how important of a element that is in the overall blockchain space. So as we move forward, I think at the crux of it, there is this issue which kind of blockchainers or non-coiners have, is if you are incorporating blockchain element to a game, you are not focusing as much on the play elements. Like, people are not, the game is not strong enough, engaging enough, because you are focusing more on, okay, creating those NFTs, selling those NFTs, creating the marketplaces, enabling staking and all of that. So I think that is a key challenge that has to be solved in terms of having a balance between the actual play elements of a game, not losing that, as well as incorporating the NFTs, DeFi, staking, and and the play to earn elements, all of that we get. But what I think is very beautiful is just that is just the start of where we are. Just by incorporating blockchain, so I think right now we are at the very kind of tipping point of how this space evolves. So right now it's just incorporating blockchain in games to play to earn. Now as this evolves, mostly you will see esports coming in. So my fund, we have made like 3 investments. One is one of the founders is based out of Dubai, called Zone. They have partnered with they recently announced a partnership with the World Bowling Federation. So, and they are very strong in the esports. So you will see a lot of esports coming into this play to earn model. From there, I think it expands to a fantasy sports, and then to like real world sports. So that is the expansion, and it opens up the market to guilds. So there are gamer guilds which are having, which just do play to earn, and they collaborate a lot of gamers and earn. And you have all these other kind of NFT marketplaces and all these entire ecosystem building out of a play to earn model. So I'll let my colleague also add to that.
Third perspective will come from Sudipto, which runs in Bullion. Please.
Yeah, before starting, like I come from a gaming background, so it's much quite interesting to see what is happening into the ecosystem. And moreover, like working in the industry for more than a decade, in the gaming industry, we have seen what was going on into the gaming industry, like how publishers part was like centralized. Most of the indie developers, we have worked on the games like with Ubisoft teams, EA teams, but still we found out like it's really hard, to create a meaningful game. Forget about like economics, forget about everything, like just a simple game. It's really hard to build a game. With play to earn now, I think like it's just interesting to see how things are happening. And the panel, why blockchain games are revolutionizing, I would say like the first part is like directed incentives, how people can like direct your game behaviors. One part I can give you an example, like in gaming there is a part called toxicity in gaming. So it is very difficult right now to control that in gaming toxicity. Many developers try it out, but the problem right now is like it doesn't add up. Like we try out different ways to do it, we try out, but with play to earn kind of a model, that actually works with like dampening the toxicity part of it. And not only that, like there is a part of directed behaviors. If you want your audience, if you want your players to have certain kind of a like different, I don't know, like different gameplay or a very specific kind of a gameplay, we can really literally do that. So NFTs are a way of like incentivizing that part. But moreover, like coming from the other perspective, like what are the negative aspects of this play to earn? As I'm gonna put it out, like it's hard really to make a play to earn game and again have a game itself. Like it's right now the people, everyone are trying out. So it's like when we move forward in the future, we will be seeing a lot of different part of it in terms of gaming. But the negative part, I would say, like how I don't know, like play to one part. I'm just realizing just a second. Yeah. So it's more of a like when you don't want your players to do one kind of an activity, when you don't have that control over your game, and when your player takes over on your game, that will be a very different challenging part, because you have tokens, you have NFTs. We have seen this already with BAYC and NFT platforms. Like there is one asset class that has been created, and it is again being converted into different copies versions of it. So you don't really have the control over it, the intellectual property over it. And this is like a negative part to it, controlling those intellectual property part. If you're creating a game, if that becomes a massive hit, you don't know who will be copying it and who will be doing it. So that's one big issue right now. So yeah.
One of the issues that I think has been with us since the beginning of blockchain is sometimes I call performance. As you know, games to be interesting must be high resolution graphics, must be performant. Blockchains by nature are decentralized trust, and they are slow sometimes. Remember, many of you probably heard about CryptoKitties. When it got launched, it automatically brought down almost the Ethereum network and increased the gas fees, which is another element. I remember a colleague of mine raised about 15 million to create something called Aptoid, which is, you can say, a gaming superstore for Android phones. And it was all supposed to be developed on Ethereum. In reality, they tried it, it didn't work. There was not enough transactions per second. As a result, he did 95% or 98% of the work off chain, and then only use Ethereum at the last minute to commit the results. So I want our panel to also provide their perspective. Blockchain is good. Blockchain adds a lot of trust and elements, but what do you consider to be the biggest challenges associated with using blockchain in the gaming?
Well, that's an interesting one. Genuinely speaking, I do not believe that blockchain is the answer to everything. I think it is an incredible technology, but in its core, it still remains a ledger. It can enable, it can improve, it can add value, but I very much like what you mentioned, actually. Like, it's not going to make a game better at its core, because building a game can take up to 10 years or more. It's incredibly expensive. The blockchain here gives us here something interesting and added value, but it doesn't solve the whole issue of a game. So for me, it's an addition to the full product, and which is okay. But I very much believe that we're going to see something like frameworks for different economies. If it's an MMORPG, if it's a strategic game, if it's something like this in its basic, which you'll be able to implement in different existing games to have ease of access. But the rest of it is going to be more of a trial and error kind of pace. Please, like, you guys share your opinion. For me, this would make the most sense as a former gamer, because I don't have the time anymore that much. But how it's so big. It became a university sponsorship opportunity. Like, you can, in the US, you can now be a full scholarship student that plays online video games and esports. It's multi-billion, everybody knows this. But getting this now to the next step is incredibly complicated. And for me, this is something that needs to come in very easy steps and easy bites, really slow it up. And then it can be built upon when people dive deep into the economical parts.
So, Amit, what do you consider to be the blockchain challenges from your perspective?
Yeah, well, just building upon what you said, I think I totally agree. And, I think it's great that in the panel, we have like different views, because you come forward from a gaming view, we all have different views. So I think that's very exciting. So the key challenges are for Axie, for example, if you see there is a utility coin and the governance coin, and the utility coin is almost unlimited supply, right? So that creates an inflationary model, which will head into the challenge over the coming years. It just, de-incentivizes people to keep playing the game. So like for example, for we are investing in one of the games on Agora and blockchain, which is number 5 now in terms of the most NFTs minted, on its way to kind of number 1. It's called Alchemon, and when we are working very closely with them on tokenomics, so what we are saying is, okay, how very important in the beginning, do you have a separate governance token and a separate utility token for in-game purchases? For the utility token, you need to have like a deflationary kind of supply over time, or you need to have definitely like a max supply, so that it's not like it's an inflationary model which keeps, which over time will reduce the ability of people to play. And I think one very critical element is in a number of games that we have spoken to is how eventually, so if you think of it, what blockchain basically does to a game is it bootstraps adoption. So earlier what used to happen is you take any kind of web 2 game, you sell, and people buy it and then they play. So and for adoption, what they do is they will do advertisements and they will spend all this marketing money for people to adopt, right? What with crypto economics, the beautiful thing is the network effect of the tokens can help bootstrap adoption. But then eventually at some point it is very critical that the game itself starts making money and is sustainable, so that it's no longer waiting for that network effect of the crypto to take on. So that I think is very critical, which a lot of games, which we really dig deep into and try to understand is, okay, once the blockchain element is incorporated, will the game, the protocol itself at some point start actually making money, so that it's a sustainable model? And what happens once it achieves like equilibrium? How does the mint and burn equilibrium kind of achieve? So I think that is a couple of the key challenges that we help games overcome.
Sudipto?
I would say user experience is the most challenging part right now with games. Forget about like users first. If you this happened and exactly like when you ask a developer, okay, right now you want to create a play to earn game, the developer centric is, you want me to learn about Solidity, you want me to learn about blockchain. I'm good with the traditional gaming platform. I don't want to go with that part. So the user experience is like the most integral part right now that is facing issues, right? And moreover, like talking about from user perspective also, like the more we cannot undermine the users already there in the gaming aspect, who are like we are talking about, it's a 300 billion economy they are playing. So it's based off casual gamers, serious gamers, there's like part-time gamers, all these gamers are there. So not undermining this and just focusing on the crypto part will be like, we're not doing justice to the actual gaming part. So how it can be done, and what exactly in Bullion, what we are trying to do over here is like have that balance, even not just from the developers perspective, but from the users perspective also, how that balance can be brought in. So it should not be like you have to go to your wallet address, you have to sign this, you have to hold all these NFTs, you have to look after your NFTs, where this NFT is going. It should be much easier for the end user. Then only it is possible. Or adoption happens at a slower rate. There are investors, they are like smart investors who does this, who are working on that part. But talking about like mass adoption, users needs that kind of information, and it should be progressive. Like, okay, I'm having this NFT, I have this DeFi space, I have the gaming economics to it. Here you go. They'll just say like, okay, I need that. I'm good with Candy Crush.
I have one question here, and I want to hear you guys' opinion on that. Do you think that a key challenge in the gaming, indeed in the blockchain space, also is that there's a certain amount of over-promising to what is realistic right now and what can be adopted and what a time frame looks like, and especially what a roadmap looks like when we see a lot of the projects? Because you mentioned it takes a long time. It is incredibly cost inefficient because it is expensive. Do you also concur with the point that the realistic expectations are not here right now in this space, or do you think everything is going super fast and works?
Yeah, see, from the technology point of view, if you talk about like developers, we can build anything and everything. Right now, they are like very complicated projects. If like even investors are trying hard to understand. So that is already there. Like the architecture on cloud, everything is already there. But the problem right now, we are talking from the user's perspective. Are they able to understand? If you give them, this is what we call in the user experience, like Maya principle. You don't give the entire cake of to your audience. You give it piece by piece, show them the way first. Like even if you're trying to create a play to earn game, but first show them the way, like where exactly they can incentivize themselves, and what, and this also helps them a positive behavior. Talking about positive behavior, like the first time, like a play to earn game, you can literally tell your audience not to play your game. Like you can spend a time on their mental health. Like most of the games, these are being made addictive to play. So you require that time to for them to play. What if we turn that model, like you play a game for 1 hour and just switch off your mobile or switch off your gameplay? You get incentivized for it. We are taking care of the mental health of a user. That really benefits. So this is like, yeah, revolutionizing, I would say.
So you can say blockchain has been using as an incentivized method to kind of drive addiction into the games. Yes. Interesting aspect. So it's almost like we're making gamers into traders almost overnight. I do agree with you that definitely the user experience needs to be beefed up. Gaming overall user experience has always been fairly great, but things like, for example, DeFi, MetaMask, is not compatible with the user interface that the gamers have been used to in the past. It's just not intuitive enough. I would like maybe everybody to spend maybe 1 minute as well about one topic that we touched base earlier, which is the importance of an ecosystem. Because I believe that not one person has got the entire elements of the solution together. So what do you consider to be the key elements of the ecosystem? Go ahead.
So sorry, can you repeat?
The ecosystem.
Yeah.
Like the importance of ecosystem in building games and blockchain together.
I believe that we can all agree here that whatever you want to build, whatever you want to create, the people that are with you along the ride are the most important thing. And if you can draw more people into this ecosystem and get them ready for this and get them willing to spend time on the game, this is the key differentiator that you're going to see in the game, in everything, not only gaming. But this comes back down to how do you incentivize your ecosystem? Because if you look at the gaming, the play to earn aspect is one thing. The graphics, the whole user experience is another thing. But the third thing is also what kind of updates are you bringing? Like what's the content you're bringing? Do you, one of my favorite examples is a game called Path of Exile. There's like every 6 months, there's a whole new, like the basic game is the same, but on top of that, there's a different way to do something. There are different items. There's something new. And each player in this ecosystem knows that in 6 months, they're going to play through that version now, but the next version is going to offer them something very different. You're going to still have the baseline of the game, but everything is going to be more exciting. It's going to be new in a way. And that is very, 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 very important. And that's how you grow your ecosystem also. Because people, if it's items that were not able to be gathered because of previous versions, if it's some events that have happened that have been impactful, all these things together, you want to create something like in your ecosystem, the regret that they were not part of the ecosystem earlier, and the need and the wish to be part of the ecosystem for as long as possible forward. So.
Amit?
I totally agree. Like I think the key people who come together and build it are important. So if you take any blockchain game, right? So at the core of it, center of it, like Sudipto here, so the key people are the developers who develop the actual game, right? But then along with it, for its success, very critical that the tokenomics are thought of in the very beginning, how the tokenomics will be, how will they incentivized the right way. Then on the other end, you have, for example, if you're building a play to earn games, then it's very important to have guilds, actually the people who will come and actually play the games, right? So you need to have those players who are coming in. Then on the other end of the ecosystem, in a lot of games, what you're seeing is waging. So people will come and and place, prediction markets bet. So you have, okay, two people are playing, multiple people are playing, you bet, okay, who would win. So you have that ecosystem of prediction markets, wagers being given. And then as it evolves into eco sports and bringing, fantasy sports and real, incorporating blockchain in real world games, it's that ecosystem. So how, for example, on the bowling side, which Zone is doing. So first of all, the bowling federation has to agree that yes, we want to incorporate blockchain and then get those kind of, real worlds in. And then on the fantasy side, you start doing. So all these players in the ecosystem are very key. And what is very interesting is then how the NFT is playing. So you go in, you need to have NFT marketplaces where they can, go and trade and exchange. So if you take any of these elements out, that the flywheel effect is lost, that network effect is lost. So that ecosystem, I think, is very critical. And just with, any of, for example, if you don't have the play to earn model, none of these, you can't have wagering, you can't have the NFTs, you can't have guilds playing on it. So all of the ecosystem is very critical for it to have that network effect and keep growing together.
So Dipto, what's your views on ecosystem?
So when we're talking about systems part, like I believe like a strong coalition with the government is also a major integral part. Now, there is a platform called Steam where you can get games over there. Now, Steam has banned NFT gaming. Why? Because like the SEC part, like it's a direct in coalition with that, so they cannot entertain NFT gaming. So having a strong relationship with the government on this part in terms of like ecosystem, when we are developing an gaming part of it, it will be very integral part, because at the end of the day, people are like smart people are looking for like regulating the part. And there are hacks that is happening. This will happen, but to have a stronger impact on your security parts also will be important. And this is where we are also looking for in terms of like how we can maintain, like put an entry point for the government where they can first understand like what needs to be done and what can be done on the gaming aspect, and what areas other investors can look in, what areas other like creators and curators can look in, developers, everyone. So this is like from the ecosystem part of point of view that I want to say. Yeah.
So we are reaching the end of the panel. So I want to give each one of them maybe a one final word or one nugget of wisdom. So we'll start with Nicola.
Let me think about that for a moment. I don't think
any
it's
tips.
No, like I'm wondering how to phrase this in the best kind of way, but I don't think there's like a lot of wisdom into this as much as there's actually a wish and hope that we will see those things that we're discussing here, and that we will be actually part of games that will allow people around the world to earn some kind of income and to maybe give them a baseline of work. I love the idea of this, and I'm genuinely excited about this. It's not an easy task. It will take time, but for me, this is also the most amazing thing to be part of that, right? So for me, the best thing and the wisdom is
democratic games,
that we do things together.
decentralized.
Yeah, exactly.
Go ahead, Amit.
Yeah. So like what I want to maybe leave with is, how, for example, earlier, the earlier generation, they used to buy kind of video cassettes or gaming kind of, gaming cassettes. Then I think now, like what we are doing is, we are used to downloading games from the app store and paying like pennies for it. So earlier you used to pay a lot, now you're paying pennies. I think the generation which is playing games now, they'll be very used from their childhood to actually making money on games. So that's how it will go.
So if you have young kids, they might make more money than you playing games. So be ready for that. So actually, some of them I think are already doing that, but I think there's one kid from India that launched some rock NFTs and made 200,000, and the parents kind of were extremely surprised. So Dipto.
So as Amit mentioned, like in terms of finance, like I would say like what blockchain and crypto has taught to 18-year-old kid, finance history has ever done that. So people now are understand about finance much more than earlier. What earlier people, even I would say like my father knows more about finance, but now like more on the financial part, 18-year kid can tell like what is about finance and where you want to stake, where you want to bond. And remember, like guys, like crypto is like community, blockchain is all about community, content is the king, and data is like oil. So we are like simplifying all these things. We are trying to like making it easier for users. Yeah.
Okay, you see all these amazing thought leaders that bring us. From my perspective, I do believe that there's a certain elements of convergence that is happening in the gaming. So we're blockchain, gaming, DeFi, wallets, NFTs, all coming together to basically make our young generation much more self-sufficient. And I think it's this new generation where the kids are actually going to support the parents, not the other way around. So I thank very much our panel for the esteemed time and for the veterans that stayed with us until this time. I think you'll have the chance to interact with the panel as well in the meetings outside during coffee. So I invite back our moderator, Mr. Gordon, to continue. Oh, we have the big boss.
Well, thank you all. It was an interesting panel. Forget about your kids after the gaming. No kids are, they're gonna forget they have parents. I just wanna ask Hadi to come on stage. You've been invited by the group. Thank you, George.
So I wanted to Hadi has done a really good job for us, like at the last moment, I would say. So this is a token of appreciation that we are giving. Great. Thank you very much. So this is a book that has been curated by our advisor, Marcus Howard. So he's the president of Blockchain Gaming Alliance. And this book has been created like for 2 years. And these are like, there are investors, game players, designers, all sorts of people. So yeah.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Here we go. Thank you.
Thank you.